Alright, it's me, it's Ernest T. I'm back for a while, anyway. And you're probably wondering, like, where the hell you been, Red Clay Traveler? Well, let me tell you, we crossed the Alps. We lost a couple elephants, but we got over, alright? And I've been in Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, Kentucky, Alabama. Been around, is what I'm saying. And just got back on Friday. The weather's been kind of crappy here. It started raining last night and stuff, and I've just now gotten the chance to film a video. So I appreciate your patience. We're doing good on subscribers, and we're closing in. We're closing in on 1,000. And you know what happens when we get to 1,000? When we get to 1,000, we're doing a giveaway. All right, we've already discussed this. But once we get closer to striking distance, we'll go into the details about said giveaway. But right now, this is just going to be a short update video. I'm going to toss in a little history for you, just so that you still love me. I'm actually got to work on this truck right now. Got to put an alternator on it, starter, eventually a water pump, and a fuel pump, but I'm not doing the fuel pump today. I'm just going to do the starter and the alternator. But this truck, my boss got this out of Colorado, had 107,000 miles on it. It's kind of beat all to hell because it looks like they've been herding cattle with it, but as far as the truck itself goes, it runs real good, it drives good. It drove us thousands of miles, so it's pretty solid. A little update before we go into the history on what the plans for the channel is. Now, I know some of y'all that subscribed to me originally when I was just doing Willys content, y'all were probably like, you know, this Red Clay Traveler guy, he's a fraud. All he does is show CJ5s and crap now. He doesn't even show any Willys. Well, you know, I filmed the CJ5 because I'm working on it a lot, but now I've got it more or less where I want it. There's several things still need to be done, but nothing major. So since I feel like I've kind of exhausted the CJ5 for a while, I'm still going to show it. I'm still going to show the camping trips and stuff with it. But since we've been kind of beating it a little bit, we're gonna pull my brother's Willys out. That's a 1960 Willys. It's been in a couple videos before, but this is a damn solid truck. I got it out of Arkansas, and I got my truck first, and then this one popped up, and I went back and we bought this one. So this truck has a hole in its oil pan, so I'm going to pull its oil pan. I've got a good oil pan to put on it. We've got the rear main seal and all that, so I'm going to change that. So I'm going to film that kind of stuff on this. The rear main seal, changing the oil pan. It's got no brakes on it, so we're going to get the brakes going on it. This tire is kind of slack. That's strange. It's got brand new tires on it. But basically, get it where we can drive it around because this engine runs very good. My brother bought it's brand new, but it's new old stock carburetor for it. So it's just a solid truck. The floor is 96% intact on it. The drip rail's perfect. The bed's pretty dang solid. The fenders could be a little better, but you know what? It's good enough for the girls we date. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking we'll do some Willys content again. I miss doing the Willys content. I like working on the pure Willys. Now, this isn't technically a pure Willys because this is after Willys sold out to Kaiser. So technically, it's not a Willys if we want to get hardcore about it, okay? My truck's a Willys. It was made by Willys Overland. This one was made by Kaiser. But they still use the Willys name, so we'll let it slide. But it's a rig, it's a unit, it drives good, it runs good. So it would probably help if it had at least one brake that worked, and it wouldn't leak an oil out of its oil pan. Its frame is in very good shape. It's a solid unit. And I would very much like to buy it back for my brother at some point. Because it's a sick, solid unit. And as much as I love Jubal, he just doesn't get up to speed. He's built for comfort. He's not built for speed, but this one's for comfort and speed. You could probably go 60, 55 in this one. All right, so, which is crazy. All right, anyway, so history chat. This is a short video, just updates, let you know I'm not dead. At the battle, or at the lead up to the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse in 1864, there was a man there named General John Sedgwick, and he was kind of reviewing his troops and probing the Confederate line, looking to see, the numbers of the Confederates and their entrenchment and whatnot. And his men were in a small entrenchment, not a very well-built one, but they were in an entrenchment. The Confederates were about 1,000 yards away, and they had some sharpshooters which were shooting Whitworth rifles. Now, a Whitworth rifle was an English-made rifle, which was probably the most advanced rifle on the battlefield in the Civil War in terms of accuracy. There was other more modern style rifles like the Henry Repeater, the Spencer, several different carbines they had. But in terms of accuracy, the Whitworth rifle is the bee's knees, ladies and gentlemen. The Whitworth had reported accuracy of over half a mile in the Civil War, okay? Or the war between the states, or the war of northern aggression, or whatever it is you want to call the conflict from 1861 to 65. Anyway, regardless, so General Sedgwick is kind of walking back and forth in front of his trench, and his men are flinching because Confederate bullets are hitting the ground out in front of the trench. Okay, so they're kind of flinching, And Sedgwick doesn't like this, so he thinks that they're being a little weak. It's weak sauce to be flinching just because 58 caliber bullets are landing 5 feet in front of your face. A real man wouldn't flinch at things like that. So he's walking back and forth in front of the entrenchment, and he's chastising his men about the fact that they're flinching, that they're nervous, and he says. There's several accounts of how he actually said it, but borderline, this is more or less what it was, is he says, "Why are you flinching? Don't you know we're out of range? They couldn't hit an elephant from here." And before he could finish hit an elephant from here, a Confederate sharpshooter shot him in the head. Okay? And he died right there in front of all his men. Which I'm sure disturbed the hell out of them because, this is their commanding officer, and he's trying to rally them up, get them pumped, for the battle that's coming. And then he just gets his head canoed, and some accounts say that he was shot, I think, below the left eye, Like as he turned, it hit him in the left eye. I've read other accounts that say it was in the back of the head. Either way, he was shot in the head by a Confederate with a Whitworth. Now, there's rumors about which Confederate did that. There is one man, I can't remember his name right now, that's attributed to. But either way, he made a shot of over 1,000 yards on a moving target, actually, because he was walking back and forth when this happened. So, what I'm saying is the Whitworth, in the hands of a good soldier, good sharpshooter, was pretty impressive. Now, the Union didn't really use Whitworths quite as much, really. I mean, I'm sure they did, but not really much. The Confederates are the ones that received most of the Whitworths. Now, there's not very many Whitworths used in the war, really, at all. I've read estimates that maybe 700 were used. I've read other ones that maybe 300 were used. It just kind of depends on what you want to believe, because we don't know the internal shipments of these rifles from England. A lot of those records and stuff were burned in Richmond when the war ended. So we don't know exactly how many Whitworths they were, but we do know that the Whitworth got stuff done, is what we do know. Now, the Union had an equivalent, not really an equivalent, but an attempted equivalent with the Sharps rifle. Now, Sharps rifle is a handy rifle. It's not as accurate or long-distance shooting as the Whitworth, but in terms of most of the combat in the Civil War, it's probably more practical. like for example, at Gettysburg, the Union had a group of men called the Berdan sharpshooters. The Berdan sharpshooters were pretty impressive fellows, and they actually wore Goodyear rubber buttons to keep the sun from glinting off of them. They wore green uniforms so that they could blend in with the background on the battlefield. It's basically early camouflage, early sniper technology, basically, where they don't want to glint reflections so the Confederates can see them, and they don't want to stand out in blue uniforms. And they were very lethally effective at Gettysburg against the Confederates. And they actually ran kind of a forward movement, a thin line of sharpshooters, Berdan sharpshooters, that interacted with the Confederates and basically kept the Confederates under a pretty devastating fire as they retreated back to Union lines. To be a Berdan sharpshooter was extremely, extremely difficult. You had to, I can't remember the specifics, but it's something along these lines. You had to be able to hit a bullseye of a target freehand, standing, freehand. I think it was 10 times at 200 yards, and sharps generally didn't have a scope on them of any kind. Now, a scope in the Civil War is basically a brass tube with a couple pieces of glass in it, but it was still better than a poke in the eye, you know what I'm saying? So it was pretty rigorous to be chosen to be a Berdan sharpshooter. So all these guys that were Berdan sharpshooters were pretty solid, you know. So the sharpshooters in the Civil War, which is where we get the term sharpshooter, is from groups like Berdan sharpshooters, because they're shooting Sharps rifles. It's very interesting. It's a side of the Civil War most people don't talk about. They usually just talk about the infantry and the cavalry and stuff, but the sharpshooters are present on virtually every battlefield. You know, Petersburg, they were here in Atlanta, they were here, you know, all over the place. And they're a fascinating part of the Civil War. And there's quite a few distinguished guys among them on both sides that did some impressive stuff with not the best of circumstances going on around them. But anyway, that's a little side note. If you want to read more about General Sedgwick getting shot in the head at Spotsylvania Courthouse, you can do that at your leisure, watch a documentary about it, what have you. Oh, there's a Berdan sharpshooter right there shooting. But anyway, yeah, so this is a little update, little history, little plan on that we're going to be working on this Willys over here. There's a couple things I need to do to Jubal that I need to get in there too, so I'm hoping that the next few videos are going to be Willys related stuff. And then hopefully we'll get to 1,000 soon. We'll do our giveaway and we'll keep on keeping on, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, this is Regulate Traveler. I'm back in action. I'm back in the heartland, back in the South where I belong. And because I don't enjoy the cities. I do not. I was not impressed with Chicago at all. I'm not impressed with Atlanta at all. I do not like cities of any kind, no matter where they are geographically located. So I'm glad to be back in the heartland. So yeah, it's refreshing. Anyway, I'm going to go work on this Chevrolet, and I will see you all on the flip side. Remember, keep it real, keep it honest, and get yourself a Willys, and you'll never be sad. Or you'll be sad, but at least you'll have a Willys. Get it. Farwood.